Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's a regular Town of Queensbury Town Board meeting. It is July 16th, 2018. Time is 7:02 p.m. And before we begin the regular agenda, would you all please rise and join Councilwoman Jennifer Switzer in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Okay.
All right.
We've been
The agenda, we have no public hearings tonight. We have 10 resolutions before us. And so what we'll do is I'll go through and describe each of the resolutions except for one. Town council will describe. And
I'm ready.
okay, good. And if you wish to speak to any of the resolutions, you're welcome to do so. And if you have another town item that you wish to speak to, I will give you the opportunity at the end of the meeting to speak to the board about that. But this part of the meeting pertains to just the 10 resolutions before us tonight. All right, so resolution 2.1, Caroline, please.
Resolution authorizing engagement of services of Northern Mechanical Services, Inc. for removal and replacement of existing boiler at town water treatment plant.
All right, 23-year-old boiler. Superintendent Chris Harrington is trying to be proactive. This is not something we can afford to try and replace after the fact. He had some people take a look at it, see if it was salvageable, and they said, listen, replace it. So he put out proposals for quotes, and he received 2. The lowest quote was for $34,000 from Northern Mechanical Services. And he has recommended that the town board approve this project. Resolution 2.2.
Resolution authorizing transfer of Mark Smith from building maintenance mechanic to building and codes enforcement officer.
All right, so Mark Smith is currently full-time. He's a building maintenance mechanic in the town's building and grounds department. We have an opening in the building and codes enforcement department, and Mark Smith would like to shift over to that position. He got interviewed by Director Dave Hatton, and he interviewed quite well and had a considerable background and knowledge in the construction field, which is what you need in this position. So he was pretty impressed with Mr. Smith and asked us if we would consider hiring him for this position in the building and codes. Resolution 2.3.
Resolution amending resolution number 255 of 2018 to correct account number.
All right. We passed a resolution that talked to the construction of wastewater facilities, and they had the wrong number there, and this is just to correct the number. I mean, you could call this maybe small, trivial, We're just being very careful and making sure that we have everything accurate. The number was listed as 19881202899 rather than the intended, and this is switching it to the intended, 221-8120-2899. Resolution 2.4,
Resolution setting public hearing on proposed local law of 2018 to amend Queensbury Town Code and Town zoning map to add commercial sand, gravel, and topsoil extraction to rural residential and heavy industrial zones.
all right, well, this is new to me, and it's a little bit involved, so I'm going to ask Bob to try and explain this. Even though it's only setting a public hearing, I think it's important that the public know what we're setting the hearing about.
We're setting a public hearing about changing our zoning law. So all it is scheduling a public hearing to amend the text of our zoning law to make it consistent with the zoning map and the footnotes. We went through zoning change back in 2014, and we corrected it in 2 places, but left out the language in our zoning code. So this is just to correct a minor clerical inconsistency. It's something that Craig Brown recommended we do to be conservative and make sure that everything's consistent.
So there are items that we already passed.
You passed, in 2014, you passed zoning change that changed the map and the footnote to allow this type of commercial sand and gravel extraction in rural, residential, and heavy industrial zones. That had already been done, but we didn't have all the changes in the language of the zoning to be consistent with our map and the footnote.
That's not characteristic of usual. I mean, we passed a resolution approving it,
Yes,
and it made it into the charts, but it didn't make it into the text.
correct. It was something that Craig caught and talked with our office, and we said, let's be conservative and correct it now.
Okay.
He made me aware of it as well.
This is being pretty conservative, being pretty careful.
Yes,
All right.
but we want it to be consistent. Otherwise, sometimes you get other lawyers who argue it's not the same in both places. So
All right, so
let's
the
get it
public-
consistent now.
The public hearing and possibly the vote on this will be August 6th.
Yes, the only thing is that we do have to send it to the APA, so it may be we just have the public hearing that day. I don't know what the time frame is for them.
But we sent the last one to the Adirondack Park Association.
Yes, and we expect that, our office expects that it will be, once they understand what it is, that they'll go through it fairly easily.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not quickly, or it's summertime.
So I'm just guessing that I wasn't the only town board member to be a little confused about this. So, all right.
I understand that.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Resolution 2.5,
Resolution extending hiring terms of Rodney Warrington as temporary part-time instrumentation technician at Town Water Treatment Plant.
okay, we already hired Rodney Warrington as a temporary part-time instrumentation technician at the water treatment plant as an on-needed basis for 90 days. Well, the individual that he's replacing still has medical issues, and so they're not ready to come back yet. So if Superintendent Chris Harrington needs someone, then Rodney Warrington will still be the person to call. So this is a 90-day extension to make sure that we have people in the water treatment plant that know what they're doing until our regular employee gets back into service. Hopefully his medical issues all get solved. I wish the best for him. Resolution 2.6.
Resolution to amend 2018 budget.
All right, this is just shifting things where they weren't needed to where they were as things develop. Resolution 2.7.
Resolution approving audited bills warrant of July 17, 2018.
Okay, this is a warrant with a run date of July 12, 2018, and payment date of July 17, 2018, totaling $979,798.93. Resolution 2.8.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Aqualogic, Inc. for diver-assisted suction harvesting in connection with Glen Lake Aquatic Vegetation Management Program.
All right, Paul Derby asked me if we could put this together ASAP. These are the same individuals they've hired before. It's the same terms. I believe a vegetation management program for Glen Lake for 2018, an amount of $1,000 per day for up to 35 days, plus a one-time setup fee of $200, not to exceed a total of $35,200. This program will consist of diver-assisted suction harvesting, or sometimes referred to as DASH, to control invasive aquatic species within portions of Glen Lake. And the mouth of Glen Lake was particularly bad. I kayaked Glen Lake, all of it, yesterday morning. And usually I can do the whole lake in an hour, but people saw me and called me over and wanted to talk to me about this, that, and the other thing, mostly the property transfer law, which most of them favor. And anyways, it was an enjoyable kayak, but I did see some problem areas with the milfoil, and I think that probably hand harvesting is going to be the best way to handle that. So Paul and the folks of the advisory committee agree and have asked us to approve this for them so they can go forward. Resolution 2.9.
Resolution authorizing arrangement between Town of Queensbury and Economic Development Corporation regarding GIS services of George Hilton, Town GIS Administrator.
All right, this is, EDC has asked, they need some map overlays and some other little things that our George Hilton, who is our GIS guy here at town, has the expertise to do. And they'd like to use his expertise, and they're willing to pay for it. And it's part of the economic opportunity zones that that were recently awarded by the state, one being part of Glens Falls and the other one being Johnsburg. But they need some overlays for the purposes of population counts and so forth. So I had our budget officer, Beverly, or Barbara Tierney, figure out what does he cost the town, and that's exactly what we'll charge the EDC when they borrow. I understand it's only going to be a couple hours, but just to have our T's crossed and I's dotted at 48.44 per hour. So $48.44 an hour is what it costs us, and when it works for them, that's what it's going to cost them, and they'll have to pay the bill.
Mr. Supervisor, I just noticed that
Yeah.
it could be read the way that, where the parenthetical is, that was his hourly rate, but that parenthetical, currently 48.44 per hour, should move to after benefits. That was a hourly plus benefits calculation.
Oh,
Not-
okay.
So that, I think if you move that to after plus benefits, it'll make it less confusing.
Yeah, because Barbara made clear that that included benefits.
Correct.
Okay, so is everyone okay with moving the parentheses currently $48.44 per hour after the plus benefits, so that it's clear that that includes the hourly rates and all other expenses involved with George Hilton in terms of our costs for his services, the EDC? Okay. Thank you, Bob.
But
And Resolution 210.
Resolution authorizing grant agreement between Town of Queensbury and Open Space Institute Land Trust, Inc. regarding Rush Pond Park Expansion Project.
Well, thank you, Caroline. All right, this has been in the making a long time, and it's getting close. This, we have to come to an agreement, or show that there's an agreement with this town board with moving forward with this. All right, so far that we know of, and I haven't gotten an update, so it might be more, the residents have raised $16,000 on their own. The OSI is going to contribute $50,000 as long as we do certain things. In other words, it's got to be used for passive recreation only, and we got to clarify it and actually have the resolution declaring it park.
Right.
And so they have an agreement to buy these 3 parcels, almost 78 acres, for $150,000. So, so we're getting to the culmination of making this happen. So the residents will put in their 16, the OSI will put in 50, the town has to agree to put in the rest, whatever it ends up being. Probably close to the tune of around 80-ish, for, like I said, almost 78 acres. And it stretches all the way from West Mountain Road over to the northway. The neighbors, I think that you know the story, but it's worth telling again. The neighbors were worried that that land could be bought and developed, and they were not comfortable with that. They would rather put some of their energies together and to try and make sure that this land was for passive recreation only, which is fine. I think most of us say that's good, we like that. And the fact that they're putting in money for it, and they got OSI to put money in for it, is fantastic. So this is kind of summarizing the agreement so we can go forward. Now, this isn't the final version. We're gonna...
This is just there's a letter that they want you to sign, which was fine. There's a grant agreement that we've reviewed, and we'll be sending them a letter with our comments. We just were able to talk with you and George today about some of the comments.
Okay.
So we'll get that out.
So there'll be more resolutions.
In early August, we hope.
Okay. So they're hoping to close sometimes in August, maybe the end of August. Our next town board meeting is August 6th. All right, so those are the 10 resolutions before us tonight. Any member of the audience wish to speak to any of those resolutions? Well, okay.
George Winters for John Clenero. 210. Now, whereabouts is this land? That's nothing to do with John Clendon, the land you got from them, right?
Now, this is, you know where Bonner Drive goes in?
Who?
Bonner Drive,
Yes.
okay, just not too far from you.
Oh, that goes back into Rush Drive.
That little strip of land that goes in back of Bonner Drive,
Yeah,
and Sarah John appears on the other side, but down further,
yeah.
and then goes back to the trail. And then there's another parcel and another parcel. It's all part of the Freiberger parcels.
Yeah, and that comes out onto, in back of Bonner Drive, some of them houses out to West Mountain Road.
Well, there's people, at the end of Bonner Drive is a parcel that's owned by other entities.
Okay,
We will not own that.
yeah,
It does go by that, though.
yeah,
And then and we'll connect with Rush Pond Trail. And the neighbors have asked me to develop a conceptual, so George Frone, George Hilton, and I went and GPSed the trail and where the parking area might be, and so we can show the neighbors what we're thinking of doing so that they're all comfortable with this and we're all on board. So we've done that. As a matter of fact, now you bring up John Klein, and we did stretch over there and look at a connecting trail there too, but we're not working on that right now.
Oh.
We just walked it.
but
So-
when you buy this land, you're gonna connect it to the Rush Pond Trail.
Right,
That's all in this,
yes.
for
Well,
say $80,000 you said,
whatever it turns out to be.
yeah.
I mean, it's 150,000. 50,000, the OSI is promising, so that brings it down to 100. Last I knew, the residents had gathered 16,000 of their own.
That's Bonner Drive residents? That's,
I don't know how many Bonner Drive and Sarah John, Leland Estates, I don't know where the money's coming
Okay.
from, but I imagine those are two of the primary areas.
yeah? Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mike Wild, Blackberry Lane. And my question is relating to Resolution 2.4, and it may very well be for the attorney. But I recognize that you're trying to correct some discrepancies in the current zoning law. I'm wondering if there were any minute searches to kind of go through to understand exactly, or if there was any discussion that verified the fact that this was supposed to be this way. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we often read minutes, and not necessarily minutes, but we read the law, and we don't necessarily look at the graphs to make sure that they're corresponding, right? So I'm wondering what came first, right? Was the
Passed a
discussion?
resolution.
So was it in the discussion? And
It was a resolution, yeah.
well, to pass the whole thing, right? But I was wondering if there was any
20?
specific discussion about this
We
part
didn't go
of the
and
zone.
look at that. We have in our zoning code right now, our map shows consistent with this language. There's a footnote that's consistent with this language. This language was not made consistent with the changes to the zoning map. And the footnote, we don't need to look at minutes, that was in what was adopted.
No, I understand. So what was adopted was really the language in the zoning code.
That's what this is making consistent with the zoning map and the footnotes.
Well, maybe not being clear. I guess if I were to read a resolution or a change to a law, I would read the text. I may not necessarily look at the maps. And I'm just curious whether there was any kind of discussion that led up to the fact that the maps were changed to show that that was truly the intent of what the new zoning law was
Well, the
trying to do.
intent is clear. Attached to my resolution, I don't know if they're attached to the other resolutions, are the original resolution in 2014 that speaks to this. It's very clear.
And for
Okay,
zoning.
so it was,
in
right?
Zoning, they look at a map. There's a map that's adopted. When you change the map, you change
So
that.
you're saying that
So then it's.
that the map came first, and that's what everybody was really driving their decisions upon.
As I understood it, was the transposition of the text from the resolution did not get transposed into the code book.
Oh, so there was, the resolution was made that was correct. Okay, I was just
Yeah.
curious whether or not that there was some discussion that led to that.
Technically, I would make the argument, we don't need to do this. It was very clear in the resolution what we intended to do. Well, we're going to be a little conservative here.
No, it makes sense for clarity.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have questions about any of the resolutions before us tonight? Okay. Seeing none, any town board discussions of any of the resolutions before us tonight?
Could I have 2.9 pulled, as I need to abstain from that?
Yes, you mean, roll
No,
call.
pulled, I'm sorry, for roll call vote. Not pulled, for a roll call vote.
All right,
Yes.
2.9 will be for a roll call vote.
Do you want to do that first?
Well, is there any other discussion, guys? Nope. Everyone's happy with that? Any other requests to have roll call on any of the other resolutions? Okay, so let's do the roll call one first. 2.9, resolution authorizing arrangement between the town of Queensbury and the Economic Development Corporation regarding GIS services of George Hilton, Town GIS Administrator.
Councilpersons Medavir?
Do we have to move it first?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Medavir, seconded by
Second.
Councilwoman Atherton. All right, now roll call vote. I'm sorry, Caroline.
No, actually, thank you. Councilpersons Medavir?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
Switzer?
Abstain?
And Stroud.
Yes. Okay, now the rest of the resolutions, 2.1 through 2.8 and 2.10. Anyone want to move those forward for approval?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Medavir,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilman Ferone. Roll call vote on the remaining resolutions, please.
Councilpersons Atherton?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
Switzer?
Yes.
Stroud?
Yes.
And Medavir?
Yes.
Any
correspondence?
I do. I have a correspondence I received today from a gentleman named John Davis. I believe he forwarded it to me. It's regarding the West Coast Falls Fire Department siren, and actually he refers to both Bay and Cloverdale sirens and the Queensbury Central.
Okay.
I have two from Travis Whitehead. This one is dated July 4th, received on July 5th. It's regarding Cary Road Sewer District seeker. And also from Travis Whitehead, July 6th, received on July 6th, regarding the 2.5 million gallons of untreated sewage and the discharge reports.
Okay, thank you. All right, privilege of the floor. Now, these are other town board, or town issues that you may want to discuss or find out more about, and if we don't know, we can find out for you. Anybody have any other town issues they'd like to discuss tonight? Yes, George?
I want to talk about the roundabout. The people that come out Far Lane, that's who we solved the problem by putting this roundabout in. And they don't slow down hardly at all before they come into the roundabout. And then you look at the roundabout, and that's from Far Lane out. You can't see them cars until they get right in the roundabout. There's some brush there. Town of Queensbury complained about it before, and they went up and cut a little bit of underbrush. But there's 5 foot of it there that they could cut back so you can see up there a little bit.
On the Far Lane side?
On the Far Lane, yeah.
I'll take a look at it.
And then I'd like to know where O'Reilly's is and Harbor Freight. Where are they? They still in the process of going, or?
Yeah, I know Harbor Freight is.
Both site plans were approved by the planning board, so it's incumbent upon the applicant, to start construction. I think they have, 1 year from the point of the approval, so.
They can get extensions, correct?
And they can get extensions, right, yeah.
And then, talking about roundabout, Dixon Road and Far Lane, they don't slow down hardly at all. I gotta say, people coming from aviation up and down that way, they seem to go in the roundabout pretty slow, but them other two that you put that in there to help, they think they have the right of way all the time. They come in there fast,
I agree with you, and I smiled when you brought that up because I live off of Potter Road. I must go through there at least 10 or 15 times a day, and based on when you come up to that, they do seem to just shoot right in. There's no slowing down.
No hesitation there,
That's why you and I have to slow down.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else like to speak to the town board about any town topics? All right, seeing none, town board discussions. Let's start with you, vacation lady.
Well, I'll keep things rolling on the vacation theme, just by bringing up our rec department. This past Saturday, they held the Gurney Lane Fun Fest. Although I wasn't able to be there, I spent a lot of time on the rec commission and know how much time and energy they put into this. So I just want to give a shout out to the rec department and all of the time and energy that it takes. Steve Lovering gave me just a few statistics on this. This is the 11th annual free family of fun event at Gurney Lane. They had over 650 attendees. They went through over 24 gallons of Stewart's ice cream, 700 hot dogs, 60 liters of soda, 2 cases of hot popcorn. There were free shows. And he also wanted to make sure that we thanked Stewart Shops for donating all the ice cream and Hannaford Supermarket for donating the hot dogs. Their next event is Marvelous Mutt's Canine Spectacular on Thursday, July 26th from 6 to 7 p.m. And thank you to Benson's Pet Center for partnering with the rec department and the town on that. And lastly, he wanted everyone to know Gurney Lane Mountain Bike Park just opened up a new attraction, a skills park that has 3 different skill level trails, and it's the first of the kind in our area. I had an opportunity to bike on the rail trail in Cape Cod, so it was packed with people. So bringing something like this and continually adding to our parks and our recreation is definitely something that we all look forward to, not just at vacation time, but year round. So I want to make sure that Steve and his crew get a kudos for all the work and quality of life that they help bring to the town of Queensbury. And that's all I have.
Oh, well, that's great stuff. Thank you. George?
Well, it's funny, staying on the town Parks and Rec Department. I was at an event over the weekend, and there were some folks just expressing to me how great the town's pickleball courts are. And I know we've talked about that here before, but they were just raving about that. They do use them quite often, and they were saying how there are people that come from other areas that talk about how where they live, that, you know, it's very hard to get on a court, and they have to have sign-up sheets and all of that, and usually, you know, they said, very organized over there, everyone knows how it works, and you play whoever the winners are, and put your paddle out there, so they were very appreciative of the courts and how well they are. I guess they said, the gentleman who came in, that we gave money for, the professional, even raved about them as well, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well, they are up and coming thing. You see on the Northway, the cars traveling, I'm assuming they're on vacation, but they got the bikes on their back.
mhm,
Huge.
yeah. That's all I got.
And there was a publication, I should have brought it when I was in northern New Hampshire, full page about why you should visit the White Mountains of New Hampshire.
Mm.
And the page was dominated by a person on a bicycle.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Catherine?
I just have one thing. It's in Glens Falls. It's at the Park Theater. There's Audubon is putting on a free film, and it's called Birders: The Central Park Effect. And it is about an hour in Central Park and all the variety of birds, but it also will be a discussion on what we can do in our in our locales, in our yards and parks to attract more birds. So that's tomorrow at 6:30, and it's free in the Park Theater.
There's more than pigeons?
More than pigeons in
Okay.
Central Park, indeed there are. There's hundreds of varieties up there.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
When is that for?
Tomorrow, yeah.
What?
6:30 to 8:30. It's a 1-hour film, and then it's followed by a discussion where you can talk about birds. Also, it's really great blueberry picking time. I got
Yeah.
some blueberries, and now you freeze them and then they're there in the winter for you. It's great.
Organic, no pesticides used?
Well, they don't, they may use, it's argyle, it's, you know, it's out there. They may use a little tiny bit, but they say they don't. But,
Yeah,
and they don't, none of the farms say it's organic. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but they're great.
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to wash them really, just put them on trays, freeze them, and have them all winter.
I love blueberries.
Blueberries too.
Yeah.
That's
All
it.
right.
Thank
We
you.
have 3
Catherine.
blueberry bushes at our
Yeah.
house that we've been growing for years. Our crop this year is the best it's ever been. My wife built this contraption to keep the birds out, and the other day I'm getting ready for work, and what do I see but birds under the contraption eating my blueberries. So my daughter and I went blueberry picking the other day trying to salvage. But my concern was more with the tent caterpillar. We cut quite a few branches out that were being overcome by this, this caterpillar.
It's
So,
been a few years.
yeah, I was kind of alarmed by that.
Remember 10 years ago?
Yeah, about 10 years, yep.
The
That took it.
mountainsides were
Yep,
devastated.
yep. So we took them out. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but my daughter burned them to make sure that we took care of the problem. And now we have red cardinals eating our blueberries, so not good. Being in the bike business, it's, hasn't been the best year, but the folks that do come up rave about our bike trails. We got that nice letter from the gentleman from Rochester saying that the Gurney Lane trails are some of the nicest he's ever ridden. So, biking is becoming huge, and we'll see where it goes. I
Yeah.
wish the heat would just.
Today was a
Well,
scorcher.
tomorrow is storms, and then Wednesday's back in the upper 70s,
Yeah.
lower 80s.
So, last week we had it wasn't a public hearing, it was just a open discussion about the septic transfer law. I don't know if I went away from it disappointed, but I certainly wasn't overjoyed by some of the comments. However, I hope we still forge ahead with our mission to, pass this law. I think it's a good thing, and I think that some people made some good comments about the fact that, at the end of the day, we're trying to save a beautiful, well, no, 3 beautiful lakes and 1 river. So, you know, there's a lot at stake here. I just hope that folks understand that we're not, you know, trying to be a big brother. We're just trying to protect the lake that they live on. So, you know, again, disappointed by some of the comments, but we'll get through it, and hopefully we'll get, you know, we'll get to pass this law.
Many people came up to me after the meeting and they say, trust, most of those people favor the idea of having a property transfer.
Yeah, and again, and I told Kathleen Moore, when I had a conversation with her, we're not out to get people. We simply want to, you know, protect the lake. And, you know, we're not gonna go after you, we're not going to, you know, force you out of your home, we're gonna work with you. The folks up at Billings Bay have proven that fact, that, you know, we work together. They've replaced 14 systems in 2 years.
Yes, I think you're right. 14.
So, you know, that alone speaks volumes. So we will get there, but, you know, we're not out to force people from their homes. We just want to make sure that the lake that they're swimming in and enjoying will be there for years to come, so.
And drinking.
And drinking. I mean, you know, let's not go there, but it just, you know, some of the comments just defy logic, that people, you know, I get it. You're afraid that, you know, a system may cost $15,000, $20,000, but at the end of the day, you're drinking that water. You need to know what's going in it. So, you know, we'll work with you. We're not out to get you. We just want to make sure that moving forward, you know, you have a safe, drinkable lake.
So here's the thing, and I couldn't understand the counter argument very well. You pay $250 to get an inspection. You probably dig up your own D-box. It's only down this
3
far.
feet.
It's not
Not even that. The box is about that big. Now, there's no expenses if everything's working and functioning right. Absolutely none. Now, if that D-box indicates that something is failing, or maybe it's simple as that D-box needs leveling, so it redistributes the wastewater equivalently to the various fields like it's supposed to, because they will tilt, and then one field's getting fed and the others are getting vacant, and that's going to kill that field because it's meant to be evenly distributed. That's the whole idea. And my fault was I should have just described the functioning of a septic, an in-ground septic system. What is the purpose of the septic tank, the distribution box, and the absorption field? I should have explained that, I didn't.
Yes, because it was apparent that a lot of them did not
Yeah.
know what they even had.
So, you know, so then a person says to me, well, if it fails, it's going to be expensive to fix. Well, listen, if you have a failing system and you're next to one of our beautiful lakes, I'm having a hard time here.
Yeah, plus if your boiler breaks, you fix it, right? If
Or
your
the
furnace
roof needs
breaks or your
replacing,
roof
you
needs
fix it. Now, what's more important?
And it goes back to the economic vitality of the entire area. It's not just about them, but it's about, look at all the people who rely on Lake George and all of other bodies of water. We just talked about parks and recreation and bringing tourism in, all of the people who rely on jobs and the vitality of that lake. So yes, it's their own property values, but their own property values will decrease if the commercial base starts to deteriorate and people don't come to the area anymore either.
Sure.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah. Some people went to the extreme. They said, you know what you ought to do? You ought to mandate a law that everyone has to get their system inspected every 3 years. I said, ooh. How about the 6 properties a year that transfer?
Right, right.
And that's just it. I mean, if you look into the lot, it's not a lot of properties. It's not even scratching the surface.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, mine's going to be short, guys.
Okay.
All right. Supervisor's report to the community. July 3rd, a Tuesday, following the last town board meeting. I met to discuss possible grant submissions for North Queensbury Wastewater Disposal District with Chris Novinsky, Joanne Watkins, Alan Wrigley, who was the chair of the North Queensbury Wastewater Disposal District, and me. So also went to the Glensport Symphony and the fireworks at Crandall Park that night. Gave a speech about Joseph Warren and why Warren County is named Warren County. July 4th was July 4th. I didn't do any town stuff. July 5th, Thursday, was the Lake George Land Conservancy Hike-a-thon in Northwest Bay. There was a kayak, plus there were, the Lake George Land Conservancy does a lot of great things to bring attention to it. This is one of their events. They do a lot of things around Lake George, preserving and conserving properties so that it's human activity that is causing the southern basin decline. Now, can we mitigate the human activity and make it better and less impacted on the lake? Yes. We need to work at that. Lake George Land Conservancy, Fund for Lake George Association, Darren Institute, the Lake George Park Commission, and many others work in that direction. Okay, Friday was the Lake George Association Gala at the Sagamore, a very professional, wonderful event. It was also a fundraiser for them, so it all goes to good purpose, saving Lake George. July 7th, Saturday, I went to a Fund for Lake George annual meeting at the Sagamore, and I went to a Fund for Lake George special reception for Dan Egan, who was the keynote speaker. And Dan Egan wrote a book, The Death and Life of the Great Lakes. And Sunday, yesterday, after I got done kayaking Glen Lake, I went home and read a good part of this book. It is tremendously interesting and a very easy read about all the wrong things that we have done to create what the Great Lakes are today. Now, they're not chemical spills that are, you know, composting and lighting on fire anymore like they were, but they are having harmful algae blooms, which are the cause of nutrients. They do have Asian clam issues. And they have other invasive species issues. All right, they are what they are. Now what's the best way to deal with it? Like that's very interesting reading if you get a chance, The Death and Life of the Great Lakes. Monday, July 9th, at a shared services panel meeting on the county. It was in the boardroom. We talked about ways that we could share services and save taxpayer money. And then we had a workshop that night, Monday. July 11th, Wednesday, met with BST representative to discuss upgrading the town's sexual harassment policy and procedures. And George, you were at that, right?
No.
Who was Catherine?
Yeah.
Catherine was with me at that. And so the offer today was made a little bit more clear in that this firm is willing to upgrade our sexual harassment policies. New York State expects by October, if you have any public employees, that you have an updated sexual harassment policy and program. There's a lot more involved than just drawing up a policy. So, we want to make sure that we're ready and even proactive in this matter. I also met with Julie Butler to discuss possible purchasing plan that could save money. Then I worked on Wednesday to prepare a PowerPoint with the help of Kathy Bizzoni and Dave Hatton to help organize the discussion of the proposed property law at the Glen Lake Protective Association meeting that was held that night. And I did notice it because I knew that at least 3 of us were attending. But it really was, it wasn't a town board meeting, it was a Glen Lake Protective Association meeting. And I knew that, where I suspected that at least 3 of you showed interest in attending, and I didn't want to deny that. It was a very important meeting for us to attend, all of us who could. I know, Jennifer, you were on vacation, but The other 4 of us did attend, so I did notice that fact. Friday the 13th, I met with Warren County Water and Soil Conservation District, Jim Liebram, to discuss Route 9 flooding issue and Meadowbrook Trail extension and a possible DASNY grant for doing that Meadowbrook Trail extension. It's all talk right now. And then I met with Lisa Kapoor, who's the owner-manager of Boone's Pizzeria, to talk about the potential development issues over in her area. And then Saturday and Sunday, I didn't do any town board work at all. Monday, today, I know, it's not like me.
I know, no emails, nothing.
Well, emails I don't count anymore. Just comes with life. Monday, July 16th, met with Town Council Bob Hafner to discuss the forthcoming meeting, to discuss possible arrangements with the fire companies that could save them money. We talked about Rush Pond Park and moving that forward, which you see a result of Bob's efforts today. And then the OSI agreements, and again, the Open Space Institute wants to take a small burden off its hands, and if we would inspect Queensbury Land Conservancy's property, which just means walks the trail once a year, which is easy because I think most of us do that more than once a year. And the Queensbury Land Conservancy is going to walk at least once a year for just general inspection to make sure there's nothing horribly wrong with the way we intended things were going, the Hudson Point property. Now currently the OSI theoretically sends somebody out there to do that, and they would just like us to agree to do that, which I don't see any major problem with that. We talked about the French Mountain Park and what's the next step there. I think the next step is to Jamie Brown, who's the executive director of the Lake George Land Conservancy. I think he was supposed to draw up some kind of a draft agreement.
We did get a draft agreement this afternoon. We haven't had a chance to review it yet,
Okay.
but we did
All right.
get something from their council. I didn't have a chance to report to that.
And then tomorrow, some of the Rockhurst people who are trying to develop a community septic system want to meet, have a meeting, and that's at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So if one of you is interested, I think, Tony, you're coming. You're coming, so the rest of you can't come. Tony and I'll fill you in. So this is a wonderful effort.
Agreed.
Tom Sargent and Steve C. Boyer have headed, but there's a lot of Rockhurst people who are supporting this whole concept to develop a community septic system. Because you have, what, 52 homes on that little peninsula that's how wide? And not very. So all those septic systems. So this would be great if we can achieve this. So it's another step forward. They're going to do, Bob reviewed it today, kind of an informal petition to see and make sure that there's enough interest among the Rockhurst people. You know, you mentioned the property transfer law. That came from, we didn't come up
It
with
was a
that.
grassroots effort.
Yeah,
Folks that came to us.
yes. And the same thing with Rockhurst. So,
And the Dunn's Bay wastewater,
yeah,
same thing.
yep, they came to us.
Mhm.
All right, and then we're at the town board meeting. Okay, that's my report to the community. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, then I would like to thank Look TV, Joe Barlow, our cameraman, and our sponsors, especially Stored Tech. And thank you, Bob and Caroline, and town board members and public, thank you. And I wish you all a good night. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, moved
Moved by everybody.
by Councilwoman Catherine Atherton and seconded by Councilman George Barone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're adjourned.
Public Affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian-American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pennell's restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pennell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pennell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.